Welcome to Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Pruden Way. I'm Enid Whitaker, and I'm joined by Sandy Dirks. Our program each month will center around fitness pioneer Bonnie Pruden and her accomplishments, her method of exercise, and pain erasure the Bonnie Pruden Way, or Bonnie Pruden myotherapy, which is a way to get rid of muscle-related pain. Join us as we begin each meeting with a few tension relieving exercises.
For this month's vlog, we're going to be talking about Bonnie Pruden and art. She not only was an artist herself, but she studied with quite a few artists. Enid, what would you like to tell us about Bonnie and art?
Are you see that little statue in back of Sandy?
Yeah,
that was a sculpture done by Bonnie, and it shows a little naked person looking at a little duck. And I have to say, I sent that to Sandy, and it's a good thing I did. It was her Christmas present, and it's a good thing I did, because if I hadn't, it would have been lost in the flood.
I have loved this statue forever, and Bonnie was such an artist. Not just, I mean, she was not only a sculptor, she could paint, she could draw, she could sing. She was a true Renaissance woman. Yes, I absolutely love this sculpture.
So I have a portfolio of Bonnie's, and it says Grand Central School of Art, Grand Central Terminal, New York, New York. It's a little sticker that's on the portfolio. And then she has written in on the sticker, Bonnie Pruden, design, September 1933. And so that was shortly after she had graduated from Horace Mann, that she took classes there. And that school was on the 7th floor of Grand Central Station. And it was founded in 1922 by people like John Singer Sargent, who was a famous American artist. And then others who were involved in that were, what did we just say?
I just looked him up. Daniel Chester French, who did the Lincoln Memorial, the seated Lincoln. Yes.
And actually he had a studio in Stockbridge, Mass, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And you can go there today to look at the prototypes that he did for the Lincoln Memorial. Yeah.
So that's where Bonnie started her official learning as far as art and design. And but she really was an artist that needed to be developed. You know, she had the natural ability, and she drew wherever she was. And there were pictures of her, for instance, when they were climbing, she would have her ink and her drawing pad. And I guess after their day of climbing, she would draw of pictures of their camping or things that she had seen in ink and sometimes pastels or charcoal. But she had a way of drawing that was very simple. A few lines told the story, and you saw the action. They weren't just stick figures, or if they were stick figures, which were in some of her basic exercise things, they were action stick figures. And you don't usually see action stick figures anywhere, or stick figures anymore anywhere. But she just had a natural ability to convey that with just a few lines. And then she was in the convent for a couple of years. And so some of her drawings depict what went on in the convent. Like all the little girls were in a line. And one of the drawings shows Bonnie at the head of the line. And you can tell she's at the head because of her, she has black short hair. She looks like a little Indian. And in another one, they're all lined up and they're on their knees and they're praying. And you can tell which one is Bonnie because she has Dr. Denton's on. And everybody else has a little night dress. But, she carried pictures in her head, and then she displayed them in her own way later on. Then there's another one. It's called The Saga of Barnard by Bonnie. And Barnard was a place where her family wanted to have it as a summer place to go. And the whole book is ink line drawings with pastel, but there's a poem on the opposite page that goes with a picture. And we'll show you some of those pictures as we go along. But when I first looked at it, I said, Bonnie, this is a bottom book. And Bonnie always said you could tell somebody's character by their rear ends. So this book really, it shows all of these rear ends, but it shows the character of the person that's doing the work, or could be the gardener or her mother baking, or her mother-in-law baking, or whatever. So it's a really interesting book, but she always was trying to please people, and she did some of that with her art. There's another little picture of the birth announcement of her second child, Susie. And because Hirschland, that was her married name, means deer, deer land, it was, there was the doe and the buck and a little deer, and then there was a baby deer. That was the announcement. And because the baby kicked a lot, she was called Thumper. Anyway, so it's a really interesting look at Bonnie, because she didn't draw in just one way. She had different ways of drawing. And she lived for a period of time with her in-laws, and the in-laws they were very wealthy, and they had a big estate, and it was a way station for a lot of people who were trying to escape the war. And so all kinds of people came through there, including people like Dr. Robert Oppenheimer. Not that he was escaping the war, but he was a friend. But also to that group was Elsa Schmidt Newman, and her husband was an art dealer. And the Hirschlands had a lot of art, and they got a lot out of Europe before it was too late. But they had also bought things from being in Europe a lot themselves also. So in their home in Westchester was all kinds of original art, which is now in the Museum of Art in New York. But the art dealer, J.B. Newman, his wife, Elsa, was also an artist, and she used the room over their garage as her art place. And Bonnie used to go up and spend a lot of time with her, practicing art and learning from Elsa. And it was a wonderful time for her, because she had always been busy doing this, that, and the other thing. And now she was pregnant, and they wouldn't let her do anything. And they wouldn't let her make any money. So she spent a lot of time with Elsa, learning from her. But also at one point, her mother-in-law said to her, Bonnie, why don't you use the playroom downstairs, the ping pong room, and do some murals. So she did. She put murals all over that downtown ping pong room, and it was a Mexican scene. There were Mexican kids and donkeys and little animals and flowers and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. And when Elsa went to the Portchester Hospital, they came out and they looked at it and they wanted to know if Bonnie, they were really impressed, would do murals in the children's wing of the Portchester Hospital. And her father-in-law said no. So that she was continually being squelched one way or another. She couldn't dance anymore. She couldn't do the art anymore. And so her time with Elsa was really, she called it like Camelot. But Elsa worked in fresco and mosaic. And this was one of the things that she gave to Bonnie. It's very heavy. And this is one of her gifts to Bonnie. And this was in Bonnie's Japanese bathtub at Stockbridge. And when she moved, she made sure it came with her. Elsa also gave her, as a wedding present, another fresco and mosaic of chickens and I can't remember what it was called, Family with Chicks or something like that. So that was her time there with Elsa, which she valued more than she could say, because they seemed to be kind of soul buddies. And Elsa did the Lincoln and the Einstein, which are in the Modern Museum in New York. And she also did the altar at the Yale Chapel. So she was, and the Tree of Jesse at the Yale University. So she was very well known and respected and a wonderful friend to Bonnie at a time when she really needed a friend. Bonnie was never without her blue flare pens and her legal pads. And she used to doodle a lot when she was really bored. And I can remember here in Tucson being at a meeting where it was an alternative health group. And the subject was fibromyalgia, myofascial pain syndrome, and what was the other one? Can't remember the other one. Anyway, and there were these three doctors who kept going on and on and on, and Bonnie was doodling, but she still was paying attention. And all of a sudden, one of the doctors said to her, but didn't use her name, "And what do you think?" And they were talking about tender points and trigger points. And without missing a beat, Bonnie, I poked her because she didn't know she was being addressed. I said, "Talking to you." And without missing a beat, she looked up and she said, "What difference does it make what you call it as long as you can get rid of the pain?" So although she doodled, she still was listening. But I remember that so well because it was just like silence. Nobody had an answer to that. And it was kind of like the end of the meeting. Anyway, do you remember any more that you want to talk about as far as the art?
Well, all that I remember for sure is that whenever she would write letters to people, there are always little doodles in it. And, once I moved away, whenever she would send a letter, there would be a doodle in it. And her Christmas letters there were always different scenes from Tucson. There was one where it had the saguaro cactus, and I think it had Christmas tree lights around it, and she was there somewhere. So,
yeah, she was Ever Ready Bunny.
Yes.
The Ever Ready Bunny was on skis.
Yes, exactly. So she was always doodling. And actually with, we haven't finished it up yet, but a couple of the books that we were working with her, the self-help books, she did all the drawings for those. So
Yeah, which is yet to be published.
Yes.
It has all the drawings were done by Bonnie.
Yes. Yes. So just a talented, and like you said, with just a few lines, she could convey something.
Right.
It was just amazing to me because I can't draw at all.
And she had a really good sense of humor. So the drawings had sense of humor in them.
Yes, very often. Yes, yeah. Actually, and we have included them in prior vlogs. You know, in the Krauss-Weber test where there was somebody who was leaning over to try and touch their toes. And those are all by Bonnie. Those are all drawings that Bonnie did at one point or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, not only was she a great collector of art, she was an artist herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a very good one.
She was a good one. You bet. You bet. Okay. Anything else about Bonnie and art?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
Okay. Well, we will include some of the samples of her artwork, and you can see for yourself what a talented lady she was all the way around. Thanks, and we'll see y'all next month.
Now, when a person is in bed, whether it's in a hospital, a nursing home, or at home, and they cannot move, you can do all kinds of exercises with them passively, and this gets the circulation going, and the nutrition is improved to the whole body, and then they begin to heal. So what we do, and the whole body responds to music, so we put on a good waltz rhythm, and we start with the arms, and we simply put the body through full range of motion. And it would be out, 2, 3, and across, and out. And then we change and go just as we did for a baby exercise. The baby can't do it by itself, so we do it for the baby. And then we would make circles because this helps with the rotation of the shoulders. And then you would go in the opposite direction. And then we will shift then to the legs. Now we bend both knees and come straight out, and this is done to a pretty slow rhythm, but you don't want to be so slow that the person gets bored. Now if we take both legs up, now she goes pretty well, but just supposing she didn't go so well, supposing she only came to here, that would be a start, but you would be surprised, pretty soon it'll be a little bit higher. And then we will take one knee at a time, and then the other knee, and you always go to the full, all the way out and all the way up. And then a very good one is you take the ankles and you turn out and in and out. Now let's bend the knees and we'll stretch the back. And up you come. And of course, somebody couldn't do that, but then you use your head and do the things that they can do. If there's anything awful, it's lying in bed. And this simple business of twisting the torso is fabulous. And now we have crossover, down, and again, way up. Okay, now bend your knees, Cookie. If you're in bed and they're going to give you a chair, get 3 chairs. Get a rocking chair, so that gives you a different feeling. Get a comfortable chair and get a straight chair. Don't stay any time in any one of them. Change, 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 change. The body gets different kind of pressures. And then if they just let you out of bed, even if all you do is lean over the bed, this helps. Even if your legs drag on the floor, this helps. Any change of view, any change of position helps. The most important thing is don't just lie there.
And as Bonnie says, keep fit, be happy.